Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. What is happening in China? More importantly, looks like there is a new strain of COVID that is sweeping across China that is really causing a fair amount of trouble. And to understand all that, let's talk with our guest, Elmer Yuen. Elmer, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Thank you for inviting me. So I'm sorry doing a car, but I'd like to correct you. This is not a new strain of
Oh, it's
COVID
not
in
strain.
China.
Okay.
It's not. Let me tell you what's happening. China has been using quarantine and zero tolerance. All right, and they have basically delayed this whole spreading of the virus for almost 2.5 years. They've been delayed. So that's why they had a very good export. The factory were kept running. They had minor problem. What happened is if they have one person infected in one building, they move the entire building. They lock down the whole entire building, seal the door, weld the door, and don't let anybody out until this one case becomes nothing. So it looks very good. All right. And sometimes if more than one, they will move the entire building, all the residents of one building, big building, I'm talking about China, all 50 floors, move them to a quarantine place. They call it's like a concentration camp, lot of beds. So this has been their solution in the past, and it works quite good with Alpha and Delta, because the Delta Alpha, the spreading is not as good as big as Omicron. Omicron spreads so easily now. They have this B5. It's even easier. So he was able to contain it, and production go on, life goes on, and he claimed that was his solution. The whole world didn't know what they're doing. He only has the best solution. And China, believe it or not, last 2 years, not this year, okay, 2 years, they have very record-breaking export, because the whole world is under COVID. So a lot of factories are shut down, and China was the only factories producing. Now, all of a sudden, the virus have become an Omicron, which we happened to us already in the last more than 1 year. So we have experienced Omicron, and basically we live with the virus, and we say it's okay. It's more or less past. All right. Even Omicron, there are different waves. All right. But China is their first wave. Last 4 months is their first wave of Omicron, and it spreads so fast they don't know how to handle it, and they shut down Shanghai. Remember, we spent a lot of time.
Right.
Huge loss on Shanghai, and then the rest of the country, it's been happening. They had the first wave of Omicron, and they are about 2.5 years behind us, behind the rest of the world, because they were able to delay it. Now the problem is so huge. Let me tell you exactly how huge it is. Their vaccine don't work. We are vaccinated by this
mRNA. Yeah.
So it's much better, and then we are already coming to the fourth shots. All right, we are. The Chinese vaccine does not work at all. They say the people basically it's like nothing. All right, and the elderly, people over 65, they didn't know what to do, so they've never been vaccinated, and these are the most risky group, the over 65 years old, and so in China, they have no resistance to this. Very few people have caught it. And now all of a sudden, with such a big population. So let me give you some numbers. The best number to go by, let's say Hong Kong, all right? China is 200 times bigger than Hong Kong. Exactly 200 times. Right now, this minute, today in Hong Kong, 10,000 people were infected. So meaning China, basically Hong Kong and China is becoming more and more mixed, become one, all right? Become one. So meaning if we have 10,000, they have 2 million per day. And this is not a joke. The communists are very good in attacking. It's a war mentality. They're very good in executing something. But when something happens that they need to contain it, to take care of it, they don't know what to do. This is their philosophy. They're very good in attacking, but not good in defending, not in defensive. Very good in offensive things. So what happened? inside there's still this political fight going on. You remember Hu Jintao being removed at
Right.
in public. So all the Communist Party member, he was the headmaster of the party school. All right, so all the 94 million members really are his students. So as you know, in the Oriental Asian culture, headmaster and students have a very good relationship. So
Right.
they really, and Xi Jinping basically has pissed them all off. All right. So for Xi Jinping now, suddenly they have this we call white paper. I'm calling it A4, right? A4 is a
Right.
white
Right.
paper.
Right.
They,
Right. Right.
they have this revolution. People suddenly realize the importance of freedom. In China before, because in the last 30, 40 years, China has been doing quite well economically. So everybody can travel, this and that, and they were never threatened with any loss of freedom. And suddenly this lockdown and then quarantine and then concentration camp and all that, suddenly realized the importance of freedom. They then didn't realize, they thought, oh, freedom is like air. Every day they get for free. Now suddenly they realize their freedom can be gone. My sister is from in Shanghai. Suddenly 80 days of lockdown, cannot even go out of your own door of your apartment. That's how you lose freedom. Suddenly they realize, regardless how much money you have, how well the country is doing, and then you have this bullet train, this and that, but suddenly you have no freedom. You can all of them are very rich people. In Shanghai, one apartment costs 2-3 million US dollars. All right. So, but suddenly, what do? You have no freedom, and then there are a lot of expats in Shanghai, right, from foreign company, and from investment banker. I have a friend. He told me. He said, "I've never thought about one time in life that my children is hungry, and I didn't know what to give them to eat. That my children has to suffer from hunger." Can you imagine investment bankers, huge income? People suddenly realize the basic freedom they don't have. It can be removed from them just like that. So this is really the origin of that white paper revolution. All the students woke up. Over 100 university students all went to, and they didn't want to be caught with what they write. So with a white piece of paper, because what evidence you have. So they complain with this white sheet. So it becomes a fashion. They call it's the communists really call it a color revolution, which it is. This revolution, they immediately, all the university go on the holiday. Immediately, they start the winter holiday early. Immediately tell everybody to go home. So they were able to break them up. So now they are still scattered demonstration, Shanghai, big cities, Beijing, Shanghai, and maybe 10 cities. But because the university students are already gone home, so nobody is organizing it. So that one is cooled down, but that is not really the problem. The problem is what Xi Jinping has backed down. Say, oh, I give up this zero tolerance, no more quarantines. All right, this and that, no more checking every day. They were checking people every day, this nose thing. Every day, they say no more. But then the policy, the communists think if he does not know more, then everything will be okay. But this Omicron does not stop. This is Omicron, it cannot be controlled. The multiplication of Omicron in a situation like China without vaccine and then still very population, like India. China have huge, densely populated area that is spreading like wildfire, especially in the winter time. Now it's winter. Because in the winter, your resistance, because you are breathing in cold air, maybe like a 12 degree centigrade, right? And your body is 36 degree. So every breath you breathe in is cooling down your respiratory
Sure. Yeah.
system. And when it's cooled down, you lose resistance. You understand? If your body temperature drop in your respiration, before it was the lung, now it's this part. The Omicron attack you here. You have very little resistance when you are cold. You remember people used to die, in India, of course, you have a warm weather. But in a cold country, people died of pneumonia. Pneumonia
Yes.
means infection of the lung because of the cold, mainly because cold. So you lose your resistance when your body gets cold. So this is now the winter now. This is December in China, all right? And talking about much colder. India is a southern country, but you imagine China very cold. This thing is spreading like crazy. And in the summer, there's no flu, right? Because the virus, your body is very well balanced, so you have resistance. So this is why in the summer there's very no flu. Only flu is only in the winter because of your resistance. So what really happened is it is going like crazy. So let's put it equivalent. Japan today, 250,000 people are infected per day, all right? And China is 10 times the population. And Japan, everybody wear masks, regardless of what happened, all right? They wear masks every winter. Even Japan, 250,000, and China is 10 times of Japanese population. So you can easily imagine China is experiencing 2.5 million a day. And people were lied to in the last 3 years, all right? Say this is very serious stuff. You should be scared. So people are not willing to open up. And now they say you can relax. They don't trust the government. The Communist Party has been lying for 100 years. Nobody trusts the government anymore. So the people are forming their own community, small community. They don't go out. They don't venture out. So all these apartments, we protect. They trust each other. They don't trust anybody anymore. The Chinese cannot find a way to really execute their order, even to relax. So this is so serious. The whole country is paralyzed. Economy is paralyzed. All right. So no work. Factories are shut down. Even Apple. You know what happened to Apple? You know, this biggest factory producing the Apple 14 Max Pro.
Right.
That factory, they produce almost all the Max Pro, all the iPhone, the high end. It's all produced in that factory. 300,000 workers. One room. Have somebody got the virus? All right. They lock the room. They lock that room from outside. So the 8 people living in that dormitory room cannot get out, and they died. We don't know why, but all the 8 workers died. That's what happened to the first wave. The total factory has 300,000 workers. All right, 300,000. 100,000 of them say, well, they heard about people dying. They say, oh, we better go home. So they actually ran home. And then they tried to replace their 100,000 workers. And that came the second wave because what they advertised, they didn't do. All right, they tried to be cheap. So they promised something, and when they come to start reporting to work, they underpay them. So now, of course, they had 2 riots in that factory. So Apple decided no more because it directly reflects on Apple's reputation of workers. So Apple said we're going to move all the production to Vietnam and India. You know, I'm sure you heard the news.
Right.
Yeah. So this is what's happening. Can you imagine losing the biggest customer in the world? All right, just like that.
Right.
And the Apple people involved with all the parts and everything on the Apple production, 10 million people. Including their family. 10 million people live on Apple. You know how big it is, all right? How big this business is, all right? 10 million people will be out of work because there are many parts suppliers and delivery and everything. People and their family. Everybody has family, right? So family also live on that income. This is so serious, all right? The whole China's economy, there's first the COVID level. It's a total confusion. Because they are flipping back and forth. Xi Jinping say, "Oh, okay, no more because of losing Apple, and then all these protests in the university." He said, "Very good. We're going to change back to follow the world. We coexist with the virus." The flipping is very bad. Means you were wrong before, and also you were lying before. Under communism, it's very, very serious. Even in democracy, it's very serious. If you lie and then you flip, all right. So he has a tremendous problem between now and March next year. March next year will be the People's Congress. All right. Last time was the Party's Congress, but March next year will be the People's Congress, which is the Chinese Parliament and also the Consultative Council. will have their meetings next March. I believe by then, people's anger with the CCP will be so high, and it will be all directed against him, because he make all the decisions. It's really a one man show. Believe it or not, he makes all the decisions from day one, from the outbreak in Wuhan. He was the one who delayed for 3 months. That caused the entire global catastrophe, because he was going through the Chinese New Year, and then he delayed together working with the WHO. This the party the secretary of and
Yes,
they
yes,
delayed it.
yes.
That caused the whole problem for the whole world. Otherwise, they could have been contained. But so anyway, his let's say he is confused. Communist parties order are confused, no longer as tough as before. You can, once you make mistake and people realize you don't know what you're doing, you misjudge. It's like Russia right now. Putin is bankrupted in terms of reputation, and Xi Jinping is also bankrupted because of COVID, because he flipped back and forth. He really believed it worked. It did work for Delta, but not for Omicron. It was a huge disaster for him. And this was why the first time since Tiananmen Square, the first time in 34 years, first protest. And people say down with Xi Jinping and down with CCP. It's not just the protest for freedom of COVID, lockdown. It's really now students finally woke up, they can lose freedom. They understand losing freedom is not a matter of COVID. It's really communism. So they now, right now in the university, since we talked last time, this is a huge change. This is a paradigm shift from scared of communism to finally woke up to say that we don't want communism anymore. This is how serious in the last, I think we did a program maybe 2 weeks ago, right?
Right,
In the
right.
2 weeks, huge change. And even though the demonstration is not spreading, but people finally woke up, because then suddenly they realized the importance of freedom. And the reason for not having the freedom is because of Xi Jinping and because of the communist apparatus. Because all the Communist Party members, the government officials are all party members. When they execute, they don't care. They only want to make sure the job was done that they got praise from their superior. They don't care about the feeling of the people, living of the people. They don't care. This is why finally, let's say the young people, elderly people, they're scared. But young people finally woke up, which is a huge sign. And now they apologize to Hong Kong because they were condemning our Hong Kong demonstration in 2019. Now we receive a lot of apology. Sorry, you were right. Now we understand why you went out to protest, because we will also protest basically for the same thing: freedom, rule of law, and democracy against the communism. So now suddenly we Hong Kong people and the young people in China become like the same thinking. We must get rid of Communist Party once and for all. In fact, the West, including the other countries, you don't realize how far we have gone. In fact, the rest of the world still believe it's a COVID situation. No, it's no longer. It's a political thing that people are sick and tired of this kind of rule. They want changes, especially the young people, both in Hong Kong and in China. They are sick and tired of communism.
One challenge that China will have, Elmer, Hong Kong may not, but China itself, is that, see, in India, right, there were three big elections that took place in the last few days. The
Hmm.
results came on the 7th and the 8th. The ruling BJP, Modi's party, won big in one place and they lost in two different places.
Hmm.
Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, if somebody does something bad, there is a replacement available.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, there's only CCP in China. So let us say we play this thing out and Xi Jinping steps down. How does democracy take birth in China? I'm saying take birth, not root.
Yeah, you are right. But in the Chinese history, every 200-300 years, we have a new dynasty. All right. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know enough about Indian history, but Chinese history, every 2-3 years, the longest is about 300-400 years. Then we have a new dynasty, and somebody will come. And we're not afraid. We've always been able to rule ourselves. We have a way of ruling because Chinese under Confucianism, it has very good order, social order, all right, and family order. We have very good order. It's not a problem for us. The thing is how to overthrow them. We need probably U.S. help to overthrow them. And U.S., they don't know yet. They're really not sure what's happening yet. But the recent development in the last few weeks is very, very fundamental.
Now, have they reopened their embassy in Shanghai, the United States?
Mm, they always have people working, but Shanghai now is back to work, like Tesla is producing again, all right, in mass volume, but partial shutdown. Now, finally, China has declared last week that all the shutdown they remove, so total open up, and this is why I say the infection is going to be serious, serious. It's going to be a tsunami for China when it comes to Omicron.
Now, Omicron effects on Chinese. Is it like 2 days, bad fever, and then you kind of recover, or how is it? Like average
It's more
experience?
psychological because
Okay.
before the communists have lied to them. This Omicron, Omicron is very serious. You know, it's very. They've been lying to the people, so people were scared. It's more psychological than real. So they are so afraid. They are not willing to go to work and this and that, or to be involved with more people gathered. So it's more psychological. We know, of course, Omicron is nothing. You know, after 3 days, it's finished. But to
Right.
them, they are so scared. And also, the Chinese people's health are not as good. All right. They are not so healthy, especially the elderly people. So you are going to have, I believe me, you are going to have 10 million deaths happening very soon because of mismanagement, fighting, infight, hospital, lack of hospital bed, and all these things. They have never spent any money on treatment. All right. Now all they have to do is go and buy some Tylenol. That's what they're doing. All right. We have joint venture Tylenol factories in China. So,
Mhm.
so they have no solution. They've never invested anything on the treatment. Only invest on the testing.
Testing. Right, 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 right. Well, that would certainly pose a problem. Now, let's take a look at the passing of Jiang Zemin. He was Zhao was a big person in the sense that he was a PhD, very qualified. He took on from where Deng Xiaoping left off and made China very prosperous for many people. Hu Jintao followed in his steps. Where do you see that faction? That is the Shanghai faction, I think. What is going to happen to that? Would they be kind of taking a more prominent place in China in the next few weeks?
Jiang Zemin is from Shanghai. I'm from Shanghai. All right. I know
Right.
the very well, the family and everything. I had 3 lunches with him, 3 dinners with Jiang Zemin. One when he was the Minister of Electronics, and then the Mayor of Shanghai, and then finally became the party secretary. So he is westernized. In the way, he actually went to school in the Communication Jiao Tong University in Shanghai, which is like the Caltech of China. All right, so he studied engineering about cars, and then he went to Moscow and worked in the car factory in under Soviet. So in a way, he's very close to the Soviet. And he came coming back. He was in charge of in China. We have the Ministry of Machinery. He was in charge of all the trading, so doing business with West Germany, America, and so on. So very westernized. Speaks English, can sing a few songs, reads English book, and he was put on. Deng Xiaoping decided to open China. All right. And Deng Xiaoping had problem with his minister because he's not willing to retire. So he picked Jiang Zemin after the Tiananmen Square. After he's not involved with the massacre, Tiananmen massacre. So Deng Xiaoping picked him and let him go on because he has experience running Shanghai. So Shanghai was very westernized. So he picked him to be the next party secretary. Even up till now, even up till today, so it's been more than 33 34 years. His influence, even Hong Kong, all the coastal cities, is still under his influence. Xi Jinping's power has been very limited, very limited. All right. So, and Xi Jinping was picked by him, in fact, picked by him. So he's very powerful, and his family, his chief of staff, very, in fact, still control all the economy, all the banking, finance stuff of China. And of course, people have to die. And his son, for instance, controlled the three we call mobile
cell phone
companies.
companies. Yeah.
Telecom company. There are 3 telecom companies in China. He controlled all of them. So meaning China is like, the whole China, they control the oil business, the banking business, you name it, control everything. You don't have to own it. If you can appoint CEO in every one of these organizations, basically, it's better than yours. All right?
Right.
You can direct where the money goes, where the profit goes, where the benefit goes. So the family is extremely powerful. I don't have to tell you that how much they control China. All the coastal cities, all the way from north, from Tianjin, all the way to Hong Kong, controlled by them. Canton, Fujian, Shanghai, Hangzhou, all controlled by them. All the IT company, Alibaba, Tencent, you name it, all supported by him. They are the behind the scene shareholder, right? And without them, it won't even happen. And just stealing Chinese money from China, just outside, not even inside too much, I don't know how to count. But the money they took, the foreign currency they took from China, out of China, outside China, is $1 trillion. This is corruption number one. Most corrupted. His famous idiom is "keep quiet, make your money." don't disrupt. Keep quiet, get rich. Keep quiet, get rich. All right. So this is his motto, right? Motto. So anyway, very rich. So they stole $1 trillion US, not including what they own in China. So half of it is in Singapore, the other half is in the United States. The grandson, lives in Singapore. Then you understand. So very, very corrupted. And even though Xi Jinping has really done away with a lot of corrupted officials, but I would say less than 5%. He dealt with the other 95% are still making their money. So very, very powerful. Too deep. Can you imagine somebody in power for more than 30 years? That's how powerful it is. So his death, it will be succeeded by his chief of staff, Zhang Qinghong. Very, very capable person. And of course by his son. But during the funeral, I saw Xi Jinping give a big hug to his son. And this is not a good sign. It's a hug of death. All these you saw the Godfather, right? It's the funerals when they redistribute power. That's where the conspiracy, the stabbing, all start happening from funerals.
Right.
Yeah. So let me tell you, Xi Jinping will take over everything. Will. But then there will be fights from both the family and from the Li Keqiang or Wu Jintao's Communist Party. So I would say Xi Jinping is going to have a very tough time. Never mind in years, in the coming few months, and so he will have an enemy from all sides, and also the whole world. Whole world is really against him. Japan, everybody kind of wake up, and now it seems like Biden wants to do something with Xi Jinping. But next time when we have time, we'll talk about this.
Absolutely, we will do that.
What Biden is really after.
Yes, thank you so much. And we'll be talking very soon. And viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notification. You stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Namaskar.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you for inviting me.